Hello, America. My name is Patrick Gerardo. Today's November 28th, and our forecast is sunny. Our top story today is Mexico, our southern neighbor. See, Mexico is made up of 30 different states, kind of like our United States. And then most of Mexico is between 5,000 and 10,000 feet above sea level, as you can see from the red on this map. So our top story, major issues in Mexico. The Mexican drug war is a low-intensity, asymmetrical war going on right now. The war is between the Mexican government and different drug trafficking syndicates. The Mexican military interfered with drug trafficking in 2006, and ever since then, the government's primary objective has been to stop the drug-related violence. Their government has also said that their key focus is to destroy the drug cartels and let the United States stop drug trafficking. Mexican drug cartels have been around for a while, but they have made themselves much more known since the 1990s. They now control the wholesale illegal drug market, and in 2007, 2007 directed almost 90% of cocaine entering the United States. When the government arrested some of the vital cartel leaders, violence had increased for power of trafficking routes into the United States. Analysts approximated that all the earnings from the illegal drugs retailing varied from $13.6 billion to $49.4 billion yearly. But at the end of the year 2013, over 111,000 people died in the Mexican drug war. So now we're going to learn about Mexico's history. Mexico has a very interesting history that I hope you'll enjoy too, because I enjoyed it. Spaniards arrived in Mexico in 1519, but it has been inhabited before that time. Indians have lived there ever since the Tower of Babel. A lot of the Indians that lived there were very different, and all of the tribes had different monetary and social systems. These Indians were somewhat small groups of hunters and gatherers who wandered lots of land. These Indians were known as Chichimecs. The rest of the other Indians were mostly agriculturalists, such as the Mayan Indians, Otomi Indians, and Aztec Indians. From 1519 to 1821, Mexico was a Spanish colony. On September 16, 1810, the citizens of Mexico finally declared that they wanted freedom from Spain. This day is now celebrated as Mexican Independence Day. Mexico fought from 1812 to 1821 and won the war for their independence. It was formed as an empire, but that empire lasted less than a year. After maybe 40 or 50 years of independence, Mexico had hardly made any financial or political progress. It was in debt to Britain, Spain, and France, so these countries occupied the city of Veracruz with the purpose of collecting money owed to them. Britain and Spain left quickly, but France stayed, overthrew the Mexican government, and put Maximilian I as Emperor of Mexico. Mexico started war with France, and the Mexican army won a major battle in the war on May 5, 1862. This is now a national holiday known as Cinco de Mayo that we sometimes celebrate up here in the United States. When the United States threatened to send troops into Mexico, France removed themselves, and Maximilian was executed by the Mexicans. A new president, Porfirio Diaz, came into office, but ruled as an absolute dictator for most of his career. He helped modernize Mexico by increasing the GDP, developing imports and exports, and increased assembly of gold and silver by $135 million, and built lots of railways. When Diaz resigned, Francisco Madero, who helped start the Mexico Revolution, became president. Madero was idealistic, but politically useless. Because of these characteristics, his presidency was brief and frantic. Madero and his vice president were executed about a year or two later. About 20 years later, General Lazaro became president and finally modernized the country. He reallocated more land than all other previous presidents. built schools, and thrived in the petroleum business. By the end of 1996, Mexico was fully updated and modernized. So, next on our list about learning about Mexico is their major industries and their natural resources. Mexico's most valuable natural resource is petroleum. They usually pump out about 3.46 million barrels of petroleum each day. Mexico relies heavily on petroleum and it is one of their most powerful sources of income. Mexico also has an abundance of natural gas. They could make a huge profit if they sold all their natural gases, but they haven't dug all of it up yet. Mexico is sometimes called the world's powerhouse in production of silver. They produce about 100 million ounces a year. There's still a lot more underground they can mine. Silver is a major source of income in Mexico, as is petroleum. Some gold is mined in Mexico, but not as much as silver and petroleum. More than 20,000 kilograms of gold are mined each year. And Mexico produces about 400,000 metric tons of copper each year. Lead is another plentiful source in Mexico. It produces about 140 metric tons per year. Zinc is a very valuable resource in Mexico. It is mined in arid regions and allows Mexico to make money from steel production. We've talked about that. Let's get to know Mexico's culture a little bit better, in case you think about traveling to Mexico sometime. Mexican culture is very exciting and outgoing. The food is amazing, the people are happy and passionate, and the traditional Mexican clothing is happy and fun. One of the main pieces of culture is the food. Mexican food is popular around the world because it has a great taste, a low amount of fats and calories, but is also very plentiful in vitamins and minerals. Celebrations and traditions are other great ways to show Mexico's fantastic cultures, such as wedding traditions, Christmas, and other holiday traditions. In Mexican weddings, there are many traditions that show each person's love and trust towards each other. For example, there's an interesting tradition that many people do at the end of each wedding ceremony. The groom will give his wife 13 gold coins to symbolize all his possessions. By doing this, he is showing his absolute love and trust. By receiving this gift, the wife is pledging that she will take care of her husband and all of his possessions. It shows that Mexican culture is loving and passionate. Traditional clothing is a great example of Mexican culture. The clothing is recognized for being pretty, comfy, and very vivid in color. Religion is also a very big part in Mexicans' life. God and family is probably two of the most significant loves in the world. Even though there is no official religion, over 90% of Mexicans happen to be Christian. Christianity is a great inspiration in Mexican culture. And Mexican culture is very interesting, and I learned lots of things about it. So, there are also very many landmarks in Mexico that show about their culture. So, the Chichen Itza is one of the very famous landmarks in Mexico. The Chichen Itza is a temple that was built by the Mayans in about 400 AD, near the Yucatan Peninsula. Many people think that the Mayans sacrificed people to their gods at this site. This pyramid is one of the Mayans' most famous, and it has been researched thoroughly by private agencies. Then another famous landmark in Mexico is the Cacamol. The Cacamol is one of the largest cities built by the Mayans that has ever been found. It is located in the jungle and about 30 kilometers from Guatemala. It contains about 117 obelisks. There are also many murals located in this landmark. One shows a market where people are buying and consuming many products. That means that they probably grew food. And lastly, we're going to be talking about Mexico's climate. Mexico has a strange climate. It consists of mainly two seasons. That's a rainy season and a dry, arid season. There are some temperature alterations, but those are the two main differences. The rainy season is between May and September, and sometimes goes through October. During the rainy season, the forest and vegetation is green and beautiful. During the rest of the year, which is the dry season, plant life is mostly brown and dried up. There happens to be a hurricane season in Mexico, actually. That lasts about 5 months, from June to November. Now talking about regions of Mexico, Baja California is normally arid and does not receive much rain. It usually has warm winters and hot summers. Northern Mexico has a wide range of temperatures. It is usually parched with little rain, but during the winter, temperatures drop because of chilly winds from the north. Every once in a while, it snows during Mexico's winter, so people are advised to be prepared for that snow. Central Mexico's weather is like springtime up here. During the day, temperatures are usually warm or hot, but when the day is coming to a close, temperatures go down and can become quite chilly. The rainiest months are about May to October, and then November to December is just plain cold. The Pacific region of Mexico is a lot like it's a lot like the other regions. It is usually temperate to hot during the day, and then cools down late at night. Mexico's Gulf Coast region is the most humid part of Mexico. It requires a little less than 80 inches of rain each year. It is hot year-round and humid year-round, and it must be pretty miserable down there. The Yucatan Peninsula is very flat and is almost at sea level, so temperatures are temperate throughout the year. It rains mostly from June to September, and when it does rain, it rains about 30 to 60 inches a year. So thank you for tuning in to learn about Mexico. Next week, we're learning about Canada. So be sure to tune in. It's Patrick Dorado signing out.